when India saved Maldives from starving by airlifting drinking water. Amid the strained ties between India and Maldives following the derogatory comments by some politicians, a former Maldivian minister had recalled friendly relations between the two neighbors and termed New Delhi as their 911 call. India has been our 911 call. Whenever we need it, we give a call, and you all come to our rescue. That kind of a friend, former Defense Minister of Maldives, Maria Ahmed Didi, had said. India has been our 911 call. Whenever we need it, we give a call, and you all come to our rescue. That kind of a friend, former Defense Minister of Maldives, Maria Ahmed Didi, had said. The situation across the Indo-Myanmar border is something that we are closely watching, he stated. The ex-minister's comment is not an exaggeration, because that was what India was always to Maldives, a neighbor always there to help the country when it was in need. India has demonstrated this time and again. One of the most notable instances was in 2014 when India came to the aid of the Maldives, which was running out of drinking water. Also, situation along the Indo-Myanmar border has been of concern to us. You are aware of the activities of the Myanmar Army and the ethnic armed organizations and the PDF, People's Defense Forces, in the past couple of months, he said. The army chief said the situation has about 416 Myanmarese army personnel crossing over to India till date, besides some civilians from that country taking shelter in Mizoram and Manipur. To understand the reason, we must first look at the unrest in Myanmar. The situation across the Indo-Myanmar border is of concern, as we also have some of the insurgent groups who are feeling the pressure and are now attempting to come to our side of the border in the state of Manipur, General Pandey said. That, combined with the situation in Manipur, is something we are keeping a close watch on, he added. The army chief said India is also considering strengthening fencing along the border with Myanmar. We have strengthened our posture. Deployment on the Indo-Myanmar border. We have close to 20 Assam Rifles battalions which are deployed there, he said. Myanmar has been witnessing widespread protests demanding restoration of democracy since the military seized power in a coup in February 2021. The Myanmarese military has been using airstrikes targeting its opponents and those carrying out armed struggle against the ruling regime. Myanmar is one of India's strategic neighbors, and it shares a 1,640-kilometer-long border with a number of northeastern states, including militancy-hit Nagaland and Manipur. The hostilities between Myanmar's anti-junta groups and the government forces in several key towns and regions near the border with India fueled concerns in the Indian military establishment about the possible spillover effect. Last month, India called for cessation of fighting between Myanmar's military and the anti-junta groups near the Indo-Myanmar border. In Myanmar, this realization hit hard. The soldiers, unable to stand by the actions of their superiors, made the drastic decision to abandon their posts. This was not a decision taken lightly. It was a bold and courageous move, fueled by a desire for justice and a better future. It was a stand against oppression and a stand for democracy. But what happens when you abandon your post? Where do you go? What do you do? These are questions that these soldiers had to grapple with, questions that would shape their future and the future of Myanmar. The soldiers, unable to stand by the actions of their superiors, made the drastic decision to abandon their posts. Faced with an impossible choice, the soldiers began their exodus. This was no ordinary journey. It was an odyssey that would redefine the lives of 416 soldiers from Myanmar. In the dead of night, under a shroud of secrecy and fear, they embarked on a journey that would take them away from their homeland, across an international border, and towards a future rife with uncertainty. The decision to flee was not taken lightly. These were men who had served their country, who had stood guard at its borders, and who had taken an oath to protect their people. But when the call came to participate in actions against their own people, actions they considered unjust, they made the difficult choice to defy orders and abandon their posts. As they navigated the treacherous terrain, they were driven by a singular purpose: to find safety, to find sanctuary. The journey was fraught with challenges. The mountains were steep, the forests dense, and the rivers swift. The physical toll was immense, but the emotional toll was even greater. The soldiers were leaving behind families, friends, a familiar way of life. They were stepping into a world unknown, carrying with them the burden of their decision, the weight of their sacrifice. Yet, they pressed on. Each step took them further away from the oppressive regime they had once served, and closer to their destination. And then, finally, they crossed the border into India. This was not a triumph, but a necessity. It was not a choice they wished to make, but one they were compelled to. With each step into India, they left behind their former lives and stepped into uncertainty. The journey was far from over, the challenges were far from over, but they had made it. They had defied the odds, they had defied their orders, and they had defied an oppressive regime. They were no longer soldiers of Myanmar, they were now exiles in a foreign land, seeking refuge and hoping for a better tomorrow. Their journey led them to Mizoram, a state in India. This northeastern state, nestled between Bangladesh and Myanmar, became the unexpected sanctuary for the 416 soldiers who defected from Myanmar. Mizoram is a rich tapestry of cultural diversity and shared ethnicity with the people of Myanmar's Chin state, which makes it a natural refuge for those looking to escape the turmoil back home. But it's not just about geographical proximity or cultural ties. There's an underpinning of shared history and empathy that fuels Mizoram's willingness to open its doors. But as Mizoram emerged as a possible exile base for the Myanmar resistance movement, it didn't go unnoticed. The presence of these soldiers on Indian soil raised more than a few eyebrows, and not just domestically. It sent ripples across the international political landscape, posing a diplomatic challenge for India. India, a country that has always prided itself on its democratic values, found itself walking on a diplomatic tightrope. On one hand, it was about upholding the principles of democracy and human rights, providing a safe haven for those fleeing tyranny. On the other hand, it was about maintaining cordial relations with the neighboring country of Myanmar, with its military junta in power. The Indian government was caught in a conundrum. It had to balance its international obligations and its national security interests, all while navigating the delicate waters of regional politics. This situation was further complicated by the involvement of other international players who were closely watching India's response. The Chief Minister of Mizoram found himself in the eye of this political storm. He even had a meeting with the Myanmar Resistance's foreign minister, signaling a willingness to engage with the resistance movement. This meeting, though shrouded in secrecy, was a clear indication of the evolving dynamics of this situation. Meanwhile, the ex-soldiers continued to live in the shadows, their status uncertain, their future unclear. They were far from their homeland, yet they carried with them the hopes and dreams of a free Myanmar. They found refuge in Mizoram, but they were still in exile, still in a state of limbo. Even as they sought refuge, the soldiers' journey was far from over. As the soldiers settled into their new lives, they faced yet another crossroads. The path they had previously walked, one of obedience and duty, was now replaced with uncertainty and hope. The former soldiers, once the guardians of their nation, were now considering a new path, seeking asylum in the United States. This was not a decision made lightly, but out of necessity and the desire for a chance at a life free from the fear of persecution. Meanwhile, political chess pieces were being moved on the board. Mizoram's chief minister was in active dialogue with the Myanmar Resistance's foreign minister. These meetings, held in the shadows of the ongoing turmoil, were a testament to the complex and delicate nature of the situation. The goal was clear: to find a resolution that would respect the rights and lives of the defected soldiers, while navigating the diplomatic challenge this presented. But these meetings were more than just political maneuverings. They were an affirmation of the soldiers' fight for justice, a testament to their courage, and a reflection of the global community's concern for their plight. The soldiers' decision to flee has set off a chain of events that continues to unfold. It's a ripple effect, with each wave bringing new challenges, new decisions, and new hopes. As the world watches, we must remember that at the heart of this are individuals making the most difficult decisions of their lives, in search of a better tomorrow. The story of the 416 soldiers who fled Myanmar is a sobering reminder of the power of conviction. These men, once defenders of their homeland, chose to abandon their posts and their lives to resist an oppressive regime. Their journey to Mizoram, the transformation of this Indian state into an exile base, and the subsequent diplomatic challenges for India all underscore the far-reaching implications of their decision. Their actions, driven by principles and a desire for justice, echo in the corridors of power and in the hearts of the oppressed. In the face of adversity, these soldiers chose to stand by their principles, even if it meant leaving everything behind.